Falmouth, not apparently willing to give in so easily, spent the next 40 minutes reading passages aloud, searching for evidence of sexual depravity, to which Silverberg easily responded with explanations of such completely mundane acts, one would begin to think Constantine's opus was nothing more than a list of chores, written in lurid prose. Among the passages found by the good senator, a fence being painted. With long, tender strokes, I worked up and down and up and down. A roof being repaired. I drove each shaft in with eagle-eyed precision, penetrating deep. Ice cream being eaten. White gloves were smeared all over her face, dripping down her cheeks, her chin, and onto her pink blouse. Her small tongue surfaced from her pouting lips and licked away the sticky cream. She smiled, made a soft keening of pleasure. And more. You cannot deny that this is anything but filth, Mrs. Silverberg. She stroked the limp, and here Falmouth physically choked on the word, cat. It's getting harder, Juanita said while stroking. Falmouth, despite his choke, had a look of triumph in his eye. He had regained a bit of his old control and composure, and looked down upon the defiant Silverberg like a man who had not only scored a blow, but a fatal one at that. What do you have to say to that? She found her family's rooster dead in the barn, you mook. Have you even read the book? Have you even read? Lord knows you've never read the Bible. I've seen your old broadcasts. You're doing the same goddamn thing here that you did then. You're taking passages out of context and trying to bend them to your own purposes. Nothing you pointed out here is in the least bit dirty. In a book full of sexual content, you pulled out some of the least offensive passages and perverted them. Are you thick? Are you? Falmouth only sat there and gawped at Silverberg. He seemed to have totally forgotten the gavel in his hand. Silverberg continued, uninterrupted. You're hunting witches and using their recipes for tuna casserole as evidence for the dark arts. Read the book. You can flip to almost any chapter and find some description of a sexual act, and yes, even one involving a prepubescent child, at random, yet you constantly miss. Either you've never had sex before, which is likely given, you know, your size, or you've been doing it wrong this whole time. What is it, sir? Really, truly. And you know what? So what? So there are dirty words and dirty deeds permeating this novel, and dozens and hundreds and even thousands of novels that have come before. These are words and ideas that exist to make us think, to make us doubt, to make us critical of a world in which nasty things happen to nice people without so much as an offer to buy dinner beforehand. These works of literature exist to keep us from becoming complacent about the world. They exist to keep us from descending into the depths of animalism and sociopathy as exhibited by characters like Humperdinck Dinkelman, McTeague, Roderick Usher, and Forrest Gump. By exploring the roots of human depravity, we can go some way toward both understanding it and maybe even correcting it. Is Juanita filled with lurid, dirty, disgusting, filthy, titillating, disturbing, exciting, provocative, evocative, erotic, and downright pornographic prose? Most definitely it is. Is it trash? By no means. Is it great literature? I'm going to let time sort that one out. I do know that it shouldn't be generating this unprecedented amount of debate unless it struck some kind of nerve. But you, sir, have gotten on my last nerve. A heartbeat of silence broke under the flash flood of applause from the peanut gallery. Wesson and I stood, clapped, whistled, and generally cheered with everyone else. A swell of good feeling, and maybe even triumph, filled the committee chamber. Falmouth found himself again and began knocking the gavel, trying for order. His flabby face flushed a deep maroon, indicating embarrassment, indignation, or simply indigestion. Order! Order, I say! He knocked the gavel in rapid succession, bellowing louder with each blow. I said order! With that last call of order, the gavel had slipped off its stem and launched into the air at Silverberg, who, despite his reputation for living a perma-fried existence, deftly and dexterously caught it without ever flinching. When he set the gavel head on his table, the room fell silent. Their eyes locked for a single, palpable moment. Falmouth's bullish rage flashed like a burst blood vessel in his eyes. His nostrils flared. His forehead was awash with sweat. So you do not deny that there is indecent material in this here book? The word book fell out of Falmouth's mouth the same way a wormy apple might. I do not, sir. Then where, pray tell, may we find this bit of lurid prose? Page 162, paragraph 3, 4th sentence, and I quote, I fucked that girl rotten. Falmouth flipped to page 162 in his packet, scanned it, looked at Silverberg, scanned it again, looked at Silverberg again, and then simply sat, gape-mouthed, in his chair. He spent several moments looking as if he wanted to speak. He'd open his mouth, let it hang there collecting flies, then close it again. He did this 4 times. The look of utter confusion on his face was even more pathetic than those initial cracks in his facade. Finally, he spoke up. I thought he was talking about fucking the cow, Falmouth said. It took several moments for the reality of those words to sink in. Silverberg crossed his arms and sat back, a smug smile suffusing his face. Falmouth's colleagues started edging away from the center of the table. A nervous titter broke the stunned silence, followed by another, and then another, until another dam burst and the whole gallery was doubled over in uncontrolled laughter. I managed to fall from my seat. I clambered back into my seat, still clutching myself in painful guffaws, just in time to watch Jose Silverberg stand from his chair and walk out of the chamber. As I said earlier, he disappeared from the limelight shortly afterward. While not the purview of this treatise, I would like to note that the relationship between Jose Silverberg and Montgomery Constantine has historically been a tempestuous one. Some classify it as a contemptuous friendship. Others have called it closet homosexual tension. Others still have concluded that it was simply another form of symbiotic parasitism. Whatever the case, Silverberg, who in many ways had been Constantine's biggest detractor, turned out to be his best advocate. In his last published article, Jose Silverberg downplayed his role in ending the Juanita trials, as the media had dubbed these hearings. He mentioned the testimonies of such luminaries as authors Ishmael Reed, Stephen King, Harlan Ellison, Tom Wolfe, and Tobias Wolff, former presidents Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter, and poets Dana Gioia and Al Young. As for his own testimony, he simply mentions that he was the last to testify, and that accounts of his testimony were available elsewhere. As with everything, though, what stuck in the public's mind was the notion that somewhere in the text of Juanita was a hint of cow fucking. While this was seemingly a moral victory for the literate left, Falmouth's spin machine quickly and with murderous effectiveness turned the senator's faux pas regarding bestiality into a reality. Sales of Juanita, however, shot into the stratosphere. The Bible is still the most purchased book in the world, but not by much. Thank you.